class, welcome to today's session. Lesson 11, Helical Model of Communication. Objectives: illustrate the nonlinear nature of communication processes through the application of the helical model. Emphasize the role of continuous feedback in refining messages and enhancing understanding within interpersonal relationships. Demonstrate the adaptability of communication strategies in professional settings using the helical model. Apply the helical model to showcase the dynamic interactions and adaptability in online and social media platforms. Promote the use of the helical model for effective communication in educational settings. Highlight the significance of helical model. Introduction: Helical model of communication was developed by communication scholar Frank Dance. This model offers a dynamic perspective that goes beyond traditional linear communication theories. The helical model recognizes communication as an ongoing cyclical process, highlighting the importance of continuous learning, adaptation and feedback in interactions. In this lesson, we will explore the key principles of helical model and its relevance in various real-life scenarios, from personal relationship to digital communication platforms. Key aspects of helical model: non-linearity. The helical model rejects the linear nature of communication models and suggests that communication is ongoing circular process. Feedback and adjustments. Emphasis is placed on the importance of feedback. Through feedback, communication can adjust their messages based on the responses and reactions of the other party. The iterative process contributes to the dynamic nature of communication. Learning and adaptation. Communication is viewed as a learning experience. Through each interaction, individuals learn more about each other and the subject matter. This learning influences future interactions, leading to adaptation and refinement of communication strategies. Expanding spirals. The communication model suggests that communication is like a spiral. As individuals communicate, they move from narrow focus to broad understanding of each other and the topic. This reflects the idea that communication involves continuous exploration and expansion of knowledge. Cyclic process. Communication is cyclic rather than a one-time event. Each interaction builds on the previous one and the process repeats itself. The cyclical nature allows for ongoing development and refinement of communication patterns. Contextual influence. The model recognizes the influence of context on communication. The same message may have different meanings in different contexts. Understanding the context is crucial in effective communication. Dynamic interaction. Communication is seen as a dynamic interaction where individuals exchange messages and meanings. It is not a static process and the understanding of message evolves over time. Personal and social dimensions. The helical model acknowledges both personal and social dimensions of communication. It recognizes that communication occurs at both an individual level and societal level, and these levels are interconnected. Adaptability. Individuals adapt their communication strategies based on their understanding of the other party and the evolving context. The adaptability is crucial for effective communication. Continuous process. The helical nature of the model implies that communication is continuous and ongoing process. It does not have a fixed endpoint but involves a perpetual cycle of interaction, learning and adaptation. The helical model of communication provides a more realistic depiction to the complexity and richness of human communication, emphasizing the need for flexibility and responsiveness in interpersonal interactions. Examples for helical model of communication. Scenario 1. Workplace project team communication. Initial interaction. A project team is formed to work on a new initiative. During the first meeting, team members introduce themselves, share their role, experience and expectations for the project. Message exchange. Team members engage in discussion about the project's goal, tasks and timelines. As they share information, they begin to understand each other's perspective and roles within the team. Feedback loop. After the initial discussions, team members provide feedback. They may ask clarifying questions, express agreement or concern, and seek additional information. The feedback loop helps in refining the understanding of the project and each team member's role. Learning and adaptation. As the project progresses, team members learn more about each other's working styles, strengths, and weaknesses. They adapt their communication strategies based on this evolving knowledge. For instance, if one team member prefers detailed written updates and other prefers face-to-face discussions, the team learns to accommodate these preferences. Expanding spirals. The project team encounters challenges and unforeseen issues. Through collaboration, problem solving and communication, the team expands its understanding of the project, considering different aspects that were not initially apparent. This expanding spiral represents the continuous learning and broadening of perspectives. Cyclical process. Throughout the project, the team goes through multiple cycles of planning, execution, and reflection. Each cycle builds on the experiences and insights gained from previous ones. The team's communication patterns evolve as they go through these iterative cycles. Contextual influence. The communication within the team is influenced by project's context. For instance, during a critical phase, communication may be focused and intense. Understanding the project's context is essential for effective communication, as messages may have different meanings at various stages of project. Dynamic interaction. Team members engage in dynamic interactions, discussing ideas, providing updates, and addressing challenges. The communication is not a one-time event but an ongoing and evolving process. Adaptability. The team demonstrates adaptability by adjusting its communication strategies based on project milestones, deadlines, and changing dynamics of team collaboration. For instance, communication may become more formal during client presentations and more informal during team brainstorming sessions. Continuous process. The communication process continues throughout the entire project life cycle. Even after the project concludes, the team may engage in a debriefing session to discuss lessons learned, providing insights for future projects. This illustrates the continuous and cyclical nature of communication. Scenario 2. Television news reporting on a developing story. Initial broadcast. A news anchor introduces a breaking news story about a significant event such as a natural disaster. The initial broadcast provides basic information about the incident, including location, impact, and initial responses. Message exchange. Viewers engage with the broadcast by watching the news coverage. They may also access additional information through online platforms, social media, or discussions with others. Viewers from the initial impressions and understanding of the event based on the information presented. Feedback loop. Viewers provide feedback through various channels such as social media comments, emails, or calls to the news station. The news monitors this feedback and adjusts the coverage accordingly. For instance, if viewers express confusion or request more in-depth analysis, the news team may respond in subsequent broadcasts. Learning and adaptation. The news team learns from viewers' feedback, refining their coverage to address questions or concerns. They may also adapt their communication style based on evolving nature of story, incorporating new information and perspectives into their reports. Expanding spirals. As the news story develops, the coverage expands to include additional details, expert analysis, and on-the-ground reports. The spiraling nature of coverage represents the continuous expansion of knowledge and unfolding of the story over time. Cyclical process. The news program goes through multiple cycles of reporting, updating and reiterating key information. Each cycle builds on the previous one, providing a more comprehensive and nuanced understanding of the event. Contextual influence. The context of the news coverage influences how the story is presented. For instance, the initial broadcast may focus on immediate impacts, while subsequent broadcasts delve into broader context, such as the historical background or potential long-term effects. Dynamic interaction. The interaction in this scenario involves not only the broadcast team and viewers, but also other stakeholders such as experts, authorities and eyewitnesses. The dynamic nature of communication is evident as news team engages with various sources to gather and disseminate information. Adaptability. The news team demonstrates adaptability by adjusting their coverage based on the changing nature of the story and the feedback received from the viewers. They may update their reporting style, include new angles or conduct interviews to address emerging questions. Continuous process. The coverage of the news story is part of an ongoing and continuous process. Even after the initial broadcast, updates and follow-up reports contribute to a more complete and evolving narrative. This reflects the continuous nature of communication in the broadcast medium. Application of helical model in everyday life. The helical model of communication, with its emphasis on continuous feedback, learning and adaptation, can be applied to various aspects of day-to-day life. Here is a detailed understanding about the application. Interpersonal relationships. In personal relationships, communication is ongoing and evolves over time. The helical model can be applied to understand the effective communication and requires continuous feedback, learning from each other's perspective and adapting communication styles to changing dynamics of the relationship. Workplace communication. In a professional setting, individuals often engage in ongoing communication with colleagues, supervisors and clients. The helical model can be applied to workplace communication by emphasizing the importance of feedback, learning from experiences and adapting communication strategies to improve collaboration and productivity. Parenting. Parent-child communication is a dynamic process that evolves as the child grows. The helical model can be applied to parenting by recognizing the importance of continuous learning and adaptation in communication styles to meet the changing needs of child at different stages of development. Educational settings. Teachers and students engage in continuous communication in educational environments. The helical model can be applied to teaching by acknowledging the iterative nature of learning process. Teachers can adapt their communication strategies based on student feedback and continuously refine their methods to enhance understanding. Conflict resolution. Resolving conflicts often involve ongoing communication. The helical model can be applied in conflict resolution by encouraging individuals to provide feedback, learn from past conflicts and adapt their communication approaches to achieve more constructive and effective solutions. Healthcare communication. Between healthcare providers and patients, effective communication is crucial for understanding medical conditions and treatment plans. The helical model can be applied to healthcare communication by emphasizing continuous feedback, learning about patients' concerns and adapting communication strategies to ensure better patient understanding and compliance. Social media interactions. Online interactions in social media platforms involve continuous communication. The helical model can be applied to social media by recognizing the importance of feedback from followers, learners from content shared and adapting communication styles to engage with audience effectively. Personal development. Individuals undergo personal growth and development over time. The helical model can be applied to personal development by highlighting the importance of continuous self-reflection, learning from experiences and adapting communication with oneself to foster positive mental health and well-being. In these day-to-day life examples, the helical model of communication serves as a framework for understanding the dynamic and continuous nature of communication process, encouraging individuals to embrace feedback, engage in continuous learning and adapt their communication strategies for improved effectiveness and understanding. Helical model in digital era. In the digital era, the helical model of communication remains relevant and in some ways gains new dimensions to the unique characteristics of digital communication. Here is how the helical model can be applied in the context of digital era. Instant feedback in online communication. Digital communication platforms provide instant feedback mechanism through comments, likes, shares and reactions. The helical model is applicable as individuals can quickly adjust their communication based on immediate responses, fostering a dynamic and responsive interaction. Continuous learning through online resources. The digital era offers a wealth of online resources for learning. The helical model is evident as individuals engage with online content, continuously learning and adapting their understanding through interactive platforms, forums and educational websites. Adaptive social media communication. Social media platforms exemplify the helical model with their dynamic and adaptive nature. Users receive feedback in real time, learn from trending topics and adapt their communication strategies to engage with diverse audience. The continuous cycle of posting, receiving feedback and adjusting content is inherent in social media interactions. Evolving message platforms. Messaging apps and platforms continuously evolve, introducing new features and communication tools. The helical model is applicable as users adapt to and learn from these changes, incorporating new communication methods into their daily interactions. Online collaboration and workspaces. Digital workspaces and collaboration tools promote continuous communication among team members. The helical model is evident in the iterative process of exchanging ideas, receiving feedback and adapting strategies for effective collaboration, especially in remote workplace scenarios. Personalization in online services. The digital era emphasizes personalized communication experiences, from personalized recommendations on streaming platforms to targeted advertising. Individuals continuously provide feedback through their interactions, influencing the adaptive nature of digital services. Learning and adaptation in e-learning. E-learning platforms embody the helical model as learners engage with course content, receive feedback through assignments and adapt their study approaches. The iterative nature of learning and adapting to new information is facilitated by digital tools and resources. Digital storytelling and content creation. Content creators in digital era continuously refine their storytelling and content creation based on audience feedback and trends. The helical model is evident in cyclical process of content creation, publication and subsequent adjustment of strategies for audience engagement. Dynamic nature of online discussions. Online discussions on forums, social media and comment sections are dynamic and ever evolving. The helical model applies as participants provide feedback, learn from diverse perspectives and adapt their communication styles in the ongoing discourse. Real-time updates and news sharing. Digital news platforms provide real-time updates and users engage in discussions around news stories. The helical model is applicable as individuals provide feedback, learn from ongoing developments and adapt their understanding of news events through continuous updates. Significance of helical model. Dynamic nature of communication. The helical model emphasizes the dynamic and evolving nature of communication. In contrast to linear models which suggest a one-way flow, the helical model acknowledges that communication is ongoing, cyclical process that allows for continuous learning, adaptation and development. Continuous feedback. Feedback is a central element of the helical model. It highlights the importance of receiving and incorporating feedback into the communication process. The continuous feedback loop is crucial for refining messages, understanding and adapting communication strategies. Adaptability and learning. The model underscores the concept of learning through communication. Individuals and groups involved in communication continuously learn from each other, adapt their approaches and refine their understanding. This adaptability is essential in diverse contexts including relationships, education and the workplace. Complexity of interpersonal relationships. In personal relationships, the helical model recognizes the complexity of communication. It illustrates how individuals continuously learn about each other, adapt their communication styles and navigate the intricacies of evolving relationship. This recognition is valuable for fostering effective communication in various relationship dynamics. Applicability across contexts. The helical model flexibility allows it to be applied across different communication contexts, including interpersonal communication, organizational communication, mass communication and educational settings. Its adaptability makes it a versatile framework for understanding the complexities of communication in various scenarios. Cyclical process in learning. In educational setting, the helical model aligns with the iterative process of learning. Students engage in a continuous cycle of receiving information, providing feedback and adapting their understanding. This model is particularly relevant in contemporary e-learning environments and digital education platforms. Effective conflict resolution. The model is applicable in conflict resolution scenarios. By acknowledging communication as an ongoing process with feedback loops, individuals in conflict can continuously learn from each other, adapt their approaches and work towards more effective resolutions. Media and digital communication. In the digital era, where communication is fast-paced and multifaceted, the helical model provides insight to the continuous and dynamic nature of online interactions. It aligns with the feedback mechanisms, adaptability and evolving nature of communication in digital platforms and social media. Facilitating of change management. In organizational context, the helical model is relevant to change management processes. Organizations can use this model to understand the cyclical nature of communication during period of change, facilitating effective communication strategies that involve continuous learning and adaptation. Encourages reflective practice. The helical model encourages individuals to reflect on their communication practices. Through its emphasis on feedback and learning, it provides a reflective approach where individuals consider the impact of their communication and continuously refine their skills. Challenges of helical model. Simplicity versus complexity. While the helical model acknowledges the complexity of communication, some critics argue that it may oversimplify certain aspects of communication process. Communication in real life scenario can involve numerous factors and the helical model might not capture the full breadth of these complexities. Difficulty in measurement. The helical model emphasizes qualitative aspect of communication such as learning, adaptation and feedback. However, measuring these elements can be challenging, especially in quantitative research where precise measurements are often sought. Limited emphasis on power dynamics. The helical model may not explicitly address power dynamics in communication. Issues related to unequal power structures, influence and control in communication processes may not be adequately highlighted in this model. Cultural and contextual variations. Critics argue that the model might not sufficiently account for cultural and contextual variations in communication. Different cultures and contexts can influence communication styles, and helical model may not address the nuances associated with these variations. Overemphasis on feedback. While feedback is crucial, an overemphasis on feedback might neglect instances where individuals or groups resist or do not provide feedback. In some situations, feedback might not be readily available and the model may not fully address communication scenarios characterized by silence or lack of response. Application in mass communication. Some critics argue that the helical model might be less applicable in mass communication settings, where the feedback loop is not as immediate or direct. The dynamics of mass media such as television or radio broadcasting may not align perfectly with continuous feedback loop suggested by helical model. Potential for overlooking communication goals. Critics contend that the model might not explicitly address the goals of communication. While it emphasizes learning and adaptation, it may not provide a clear framework for understanding how communication goals are set, pursued and achieved in different contexts. Limited emphasis on message encoding and decoding. The model might not explicitly focus on encoding and decoding of messages. The process of translating thoughts into messages and interpreting receiving messages. Critics argue that a more explicit consideration of encoding and decoding could enhance the model's explanatory power. Insufficient consideration of technology impact. In the digital age, where technology significantly influences communication, the helical model may not fully capture the impact of technological advancements on the communication process. The rapid pace of digital communication and use of various platforms could present challenges for models' applicability. Potential for linear interpretation. While the model intends to move away from linear communication models, there is a risk that individuals may interpret it in a linear fashion. This misinterpretation could limit the model's effectiveness in challenging traditional linear communication perspectives. Summary. The helical model of communication offers a dynamic and insightful perspective on the complex nature of human communication. Throughout this lesson, we have explored its key principles, emphasizing the continuous cyclical nature of communication. The helical model underscores the significance of feedback, learning and adaptability in interpersonal, organizational and digital communication contexts. As we wrap up, it is important to appreciate that this model provides a valuable framework for understanding the evolving dynamics of communication. Recognizing that our interactions are not static but continuous processes of learning and adaptation. As you navigate various communication scenarios, consider the helical model's principles to enhance your understanding of the intricacies involved in effective communication. Thank you.